Hello. Sit down. Sit down here. Watch your cocoa. Okay, so today we're going to be going over um, the genetic sequence of gods and how important it is for humans not to meddle. So, one of the hardest DNA sequences to copy is an original. It's like you don't have enough wherewithal, you don't have enough information to copy an original unless you're an original, right? And um, you're already dealing with very extreme energies when you're birthing from the gods. Um, when you're birthing from genetic sequences of gods, the likelihood of death increases. It increases by a lot. However, if you had went to like a like a very priest or something like that, and you say, hey, I'm having dreams that the baby is gonna, I'm gonna pass away when I give birth, or the baby is not gonna make it, or something like that. They have a way to tap the mother on the shoulder and say, mother, hey, this person is copying the genetics of a god. Number one, the hardest genetic to copy is of a god and have a boy. There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell unless you're connected to the mother of the earth, the universe, because the male genetic sequence is very difficult to maintain because you have to uh, um, take the mother's knowledge and align it back up with the father. At the end or at the middle or at some point in the child's life, they have to be on a certain path. If they're not on the certain path, they're separated from the herd. As a male, you're separated from the herd. Anything could penetrate to the brain of that individual and put books that aren't supposed to be there, that aren't supposed to be in that genetic sequence. So you're getting all types of disorders, sexual forgetfulness, and obscurities within the male DNA that is causing havoc within most male systems. But once they get back on a thin line back to Obatala, this is why the head cleaning is so important. I had to take my hair down yesterday because um finally pushed out a final finally gave birth to a son in the spirit. Again, it's very difficult to copy Ori. It's very difficult to copy an Ori of an original. You can't do it unless you're the mother. Or you're connected back to the mother and she has to go into the genetic code and delete hella shit. Creating a male with the genetic sequence of gods is the most excruciating, hard energy to do. And sometimes it's done by accident. And I'm going to say that sometimes it's done by accident. I know there's no accidents in the world, like everything is accidentally on purpose or whatever. But for me, when you have sheer passion for knowledge, you have a sheer passion for understanding and wanting to know more. You have such a deep, intense passion, 444, for this energy that you seek God like you seek water. I seek God, I seek knowledge like I seek for water. And sometimes, you fall in love, literally, with the God genetic, because when the heart and the mind get on a simpatico sync, it's like the ocean. You're just like, you're you're becoming such an in sync part of reality. You're moving and weaving and giving him the goal, the honey he need, to create. He giving you back the knowledge, you taking that and you sewing it together. You're sewing reality together, right? And I'm speaking from my heart. Like, I really am speaking from my heart. And on loudspeaker type shit. I'm very in a very sensitive spot right after you give. Um, so, birthing male gods takes a lot of energy, a lot of fucking energy, a lot of ether, a lot of fucking sun, a lot of energy. And I'm talking, you got to birth from you got to birth the Ori. Then you got to birth the eye of Horus. And then you got to birth the heart of Horus through your heart. And that comes one of the last parts. That's the fucking hardest part. I'm having heart palpitations and shit like that, drinking water and all this other shit. The heart is hard. The heart is hard. The heart is hard because you got to give birth to another heart of you, right? So you got to birth the heart, you got to birth the lungs, you got to birth everything separately, and it takes a sequence of time in order to get all of them right. And then you got to take that energy of the soul after you birthed it all, put it together, sew it together with the word of God, and then you have to resurrect the energy, and then it's a child. And then it's a child. But not only did that, you still have to give birth on physical after if you want to, or you could pass the child over, right? So, one, extreme headache, sometimes for days at a time. And if the masculine isn't there to have the birth out of the head, he can't mold the fucking brain. When you birth the Ori, the male has to organize the brain. He's got to mold it and shape it and say, okay, here you go. And it's kind of weird to me because it's like they say that the feminine chooses the male to give birth to, because she could just copy her whole sequence and make another copy of her. So it's very easy for a woman to trick the male into to having a child with them. But it's very, very difficult to have a male god, and copy the genetic sequence, because you can't do it. And most of these girls die. They'll die if they try to copy a male genetic sequence. Unless some dumb bitch, some stupid cunt snips the DNA of a male god. And that's also very difficult to do. But I've seen it done once or twice by some real fucking foul ass bitch. And that takes the male off the genetic sequence of God. Like, he has to be on this path once he gets to a certain age, that if the genetic sequence is removed from his body, he is susceptible to death. So you have to pull him. You got to pull him out. A male can copy a male with approval from his Hera, his wife or whatever, because he's just duplicating his own genetic sequence. But the wife isn't privy because the wife doesn't have the genetic sequence of the god, right? She has a genetic sequence, but she doesn't have the genetic sequence. You know what I mean? No, probably not. It's cool. So the men can do it, but they can't birth it. They can't make the girl birth from the head. They can't make the girl birth from the heart. You know how hard it is to get the heart pregnant? Do you know how fucking hard it is to get the heart pregnant? This is why Horus is such an important character in development. To get the heart pregnant, it takes mad amount of love. Mad amount of love. Mad amount of love. It takes so much love from the creator. It takes so much love from the father into the mother that shit damn near explodes the heart. That's how much love it takes. You know? And it's very, very, very difficult to copy the genetics as a woman without the male knowing, because you can copy your own genetic sequence and they can birth it. But the thing is it's like you can't be birthed from they Ori of the god cannot be birthed through the head unless you have enough knowledge. So it's easy for men to go out there and pop out a bunch of kids, but that don't make them gods. That don't make them gods. I'm sticking beside it. Just because the men go out and knock up everything they motherfucking see, that don't make them gods. What makes them gods is when the woman decides to go through death. Whew, hallelujah. When she decides to go through death, maybe not coming back from, this area, and birthing through every organ, damn near. And the last organ to birth through is the melanin. That's the last organ to birth through, is the melanin. And that's one of the hardest ones too, because you have to sit in ether. You got to go through hell and high water to get that dark skin. You gotta go through hell and high fucking water to get that dark skin. To pass on to the child of the god. So where was I? So I'm gonna tell you a story. Take it for what you want. Take it for what it is. What it is. What if you want? Blah blah blah. So I am young. I'm not really birthed on earth yet, right? I'm not birthed. Like, I'm a concept within spirit, going back and forth in the veil, chilling, popping in and out of in kundalinis, just doing my damn thing, right? Having fun with it. And I noticed there was a Obatala energy on Earth. And I was highly intrigued at this moment, because I'm like, wait, how can you be here and then here? Like, what is this? How is this? Is this a reflection of a mirror, or what's going on here? And so I was really intrigued. And so I went, knocked on the mirror, knocked on the door, let me in. And then I'm sitting in the room and I'm looking around and I'm like, how are you here when I see you here? I'm like, how can you be two places at one time? and them having a conversation. And, he has his life and his children, his family, wife, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, huh, cool. Well, me being who I am, I wanted to understand how to do that. How to be two places in one time, how to birth myself into the physical form on earth. Another very difficult thing to do when you are a god. You have to have enough coinage. You got to have enough money to come here. Got to have enough gold to come here. So I said, well, I got all this fucking ether. Is there anything I could do with the ether? Like, maybe I could pass the ether on to you, and then you could just help me and get me here, because I want to come to the earth to help. And when I was up there, my father was like, no, hell fucking no, my daughter's not going. They're about to go to war. There's about to be wars, about to be disease, about to be famine, about to be all of this stuff. I'm not allowing her to go down. I'm not fucking allowing her to go down. So I was like, okay, well, I'll send my son maybe. So long story leads to another. I figured out how to copy the genetic sequence or original sequence of a god, and it was awesome. It was the most amazing thing. And in the spiritual, I could give birth without having to birth through every orifice. I could literally just, and then it's here. The baby was here. And, everybody in the realm was just wilding, my nigga. It was wilding, like wilding. Like the book of the Bible, when they was talking about killing all of the Pharisees' children, or the children and all that kind of stuff. That shit was legit. That was legit. They was closing portals left and right so the gods couldn't come down, and they was killing the black people, the white people, Chinese. They was killing all of the people. And then they was letting out like these black bags of energy, which had demons, and it was a lot. And they didn't want me. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was just supposed to be, out in the ocean doing my thing. And so one day I gave birth in private. And it was very difficult because my screams are very loud. I had to cover myself in ether in order to not allow other people to hear me. And and this is just going off of what I remember. I feel like I had somebody who was helping me, but I don't know who it was, you know? I think it was like another one of my daughters or somebody. And he was beautiful. His head, the Ori here, was this was the sun. It was the sun. It was the sun. And I found so since I'm in control sometimes of birth, because I understand the intricacies and I studied a lot to be able to recreate God's genetics. Um, the umbilical cord is a very important part of birth. Most people don't give it the fucking credit due, but that's the motherfucking connection right there. So in the umbilical cord, I can place a bunch of souls into the river there. There's a river what connects from the heavens to the underworld. And I just put it in there. And what's wrong? You want more? This is the last piece. Last piece. And then we're gonna take a nap, okay? No, you don't want it? Okay. Give it here. Go come on. So I put my son into the river in the river. That is why I sing that song to all my children from Prince of Egypt, where she puts the baby in the water in the river Nile. So I put him in and give him to somebody else because if they knew, they knew. If they knew that I had, then they would think that I did it on purpose. Hey, stop it! Stop. They would think that I'm doing it on purpose, like I did on purpose. No. Um, and he was born on Earth. He was born. Stop it, Tika Mama. What do you want? There's nothing over here. Stop. I'm gonna give you 5, or we're going in the timeout room. 4. Good job, Mama. Put him in the river. And he was born on Earth, which the mother, whoever did it, God give her some claps for that, because that was hard to get that big of an ori into the earth. That was very difficult. Very difficult, but she did it. So, he goes on, gets older, becomes more enlightened, but balances it because the previous, conversations, it balances it. And I wasn't really allowed to be near him at all. I wasn't allowed to, but I wasn't allowed to be near him. Stop, Mama. I wasn't allowed to be near him. And then people started to see his head start to glow. Like if someone were to do his hair, or like, women would target him because of his ori and all that kind of stuff. They could see that he's gonna be famous or have money or all this kind of stuff. They could see it because it's clear as day. Is so bright, and then his mind will match his brain. His ori will match his mind because his mind is a duplicate of Obatala energy. And God give her clemency, but it ain't coming from me. It's not coming from me, clemency. I forgive, but I won't. I won't. You cut a genetic sequence to create a boy without understanding how that affects his future. That takes his future away. That literally takes his future away. Um, So it was very difficult for me to rebirth this energy. It was very difficult for me to rebirth this energy because I didn't want to. I was like, I'm not rebirthing this energy if there's war. I said, fuck that shit. I said, I'm gonna keep it up in me. He's not coming out. Here. You tired? You wanna take a nap? Stop, mama. You wanna take a nap? Let me just finish this 2 seconds and then we're done. Bye-bye, I know. Yeah. I know. I'll make it bye-bye quick. I just have to finish this. Okay? Yeah. Sit down. Put this on. Watch Coco Melon. Drink water. Yay. Sit back. So I didn't want to rebirth this energy. Didn't want to. But despite my kicking and my screaming from my spiritual side, my spiritual self, the library was copied. Library was copied, and I had a feeling that something wasn't right. I had a feeling that something wasn't right because I pinpointed it like 2 years ago. It's like, what's about to happen? And a woman came into the room mad as fuck and stole the baby. And I was so fucking mad that I couldn't move. I couldn't fucking move, y'all. Like, you give birth in the spirit, and then all of a sudden somebody come and take the baby. Like, that wasn't even supposed to be there. And that wasn't even supposed to know. And she takes him, and she has him, and she goes, I can't believe that you would have a child outside of our commitment, a baby outside of our commitment. And I'm just like, stuck. I want to scream, but I can't. I want to fucking get up, but I can't. There's like 10 women surrounding me in this freaking higher self point, and it's not even a higher self. It's like this. It's like right here. Like everything is happening right above my head, you know? And she takes him, and then I look at the father and I go, you're going to let her just do this? And he goes, let me handle it. Let me handle it. Let me handle it. And I was so mad. So he goes, turns into a lion, turns the other room, turn a lion, and then they fighting. And I'm like to the girl, I'm like, go get the fucking baby. You know, and she has to hand the baby over because they're a lion and a lioness are fighting right in front of me. And so I get the baby and I'm holding him, and I'm just like, get me out of here. Like, this is what happens every fucking time. Every fucking time. It's like I can't even. I mean, this isn't the first time. This has happened like 2, 3 more other times. It's happened 2 or 3 other times. And you know, even one time I was birthed in the Ori, and it was the most awkwardest fucking shit in my life. Like, what's going on? Lay down. Lay down. Yeah. Lay down. So I was birth the ori, because the man has to mold it. The man has to mold the head. And most of the time they have their own fucking situation. But I've never like touched none of them. Like, I don't touch them. Like, there's a physical separation, of course, and I have never. But when my soul has when she wants to create, she's gonna create, and I can't stop her. You know what I mean? It's like I can't stop her from making what she wants to make, from molding and birthing. Like, stopping her from birthing is like, do I want my head bit off or want my hands cut off? Like, that's very difficult. But then again, when spiritual women get awakened to that fact and they see it, they get very jealous. They get very jealous, and that jealousy stews within them because they're like, I've been trying for this long to recreate this ori or whatever. And I'm just like, to them, I'm like, it's because you have to, I could teach you and help you along the way, but you have to be original to birth an original. Like, it's different, you know? So when they did that, I don't really remember what happened after that. But I just held the baby and I looked at him, and his head just was like bright, like a sunshine, right? And I remember just telling my father, I'm just like, this is what I was worried about. This is why I said I wanted, him to have the kings present in case this shit happened. This is why I wanted them out and walking so that they are protecting and they are doing what they're supposed to do. So then it leaves me to myself to have to, because when women see that you have, when women see that you have this godlike creature glowing in your belly, in your head, in your body, they want to murder you for it. They want to get close to you to take that energy and birth it themselves. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to not have that happen. If that means turning back into my old self, into the darkest energy y'all could ever think of, and swallowing up the world in a black hole just to rebuild the shit, then so be it. I mean, it got me in trouble last time, but that's you can't just fucking mess with my children and steal from me without consequences, global consequences. Um so this is why it's very important to just listen to when Rod talks about, the three kings and, their role and all of this stuff. It's like they have very important roles, because if they aren't walking and doing the protecting, then the black hole is summoned. So that's why I said 24 hours, and it's past 24 hours. So now it's like we're getting on midnight now. And then the midnight is the black hole time. We're so close to it. I was merging it, and now they're damn near merged. And I gotta flush the whole system down the toilet now and rebuild. All because y'all wouldn't even let the three kings get out of this shitty situation. All because of that. And that sucks because I was hoping that we could just like work together, free the kings, call it a fucking day. No lost and call it a day. But it's gonna be dark and rain, and the sun's gonna be dark and rain. No more playing. It's gonna be rain. That's what my son Alex was trying to preach to y'all at a young age, and they took him too. They took him and had somebody had his dad raise him because I knew I couldn't go to court and fight like that because then I legitimized their system. So, to the girl that deleted the genetic sequence, um, you have no idea how you've impacted the future by your actions because you wanted to be greedy and create a god when you had no right. You can create a fucking goblin and a ghoul. I mean, now what's gonna happen? Now what's gonna happen? Like, we gotta watch this child's future so intently, so intensely, to make sure he doesn't wind up a fucking giant ass problem. A giant ass problem. So, I say all of that to say, um, copying genetic sequences can be easy, but you cannot duplicate an Ori of a god unless you are a god. That's my speech, and I'm sticking to it.